Is the COVID vaccine the mark of the beast? Let's talk about it. Welcome to End of the Age. I'm Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. Doug, we love the easy subjects.
Yes, we do. We keep picking them.
Well, we were thinking the Real ID in the early 2000s was a big thing. It looked like it was going to pass without any issues. And we saw what was happening here at Endtime in Irvin. Said, let's do whatever we can to sound the alarm on what this Real ID is and what it could be, what we know, what we don't know. And so our response to that, after thinking, praying, doing all the things that we do, we seek God to get guidance, and we talk about it with each other and figure out what makes sense and what is a leap of faith in some cases. And so during that process, we came up with, or perhaps it was God-given, the Reclaim America campaign. And we said, here's the idea. Let's get the Endtime magazine in the hands of all of our lawmakers so they can read these articles, kind of like a Daniel Nebuchadnezzar thing. Here's what the Bible prophecies say, and this is what's coming, and this is how what's happening right now can relate with that. And so we presented that to you all, and you stepped up and donated towards that effort to make sure that every lawmaker received a magazine, and miraculously that happened, and the Real ID Act actually didn't pass, which many people thought that it would. And so we've been doing the Reclaim America campaign since then. Every 2 years we present it to you all and say, it's that time again, and here's what we need to make that happen. And so similarly to the Real ID Act, now we're faced with things like the vaccine passport or the COVID vaccine, and all that stuff is in the works, which we're going to talk about more in detail later. But first I wanted to talk about the Reclaim America a little bit more. And so just kind of making those connections, Doug. You were a listener back then, right?
Yeah, absolutely, I was.
And you remember it.
I do remember, and I also remember, the importance that we had of trying to hold that back and keep that from happening, keep that from passing to where we all had a real ID. Now we know that many years later we have that ID, and it's just like what we'll talk about today. It's one of those precursors to the mark of the beast. But the thing is, we slowed it down. We made some senators and some Congress people aware of it, and that's what we want to do again. Like you said at the beginning of the show, we just keep picking these easy topics. Well, they need to understand the prophetic implications of these things, like open borders and what that really leads to this COVID vaccine, and the act that we talked about the other day. It's skipped my mind.
The Equality Act.
Yes, thank you. The Equality Act. They need to understand how those things have prophetic implications. So that's why this is so important, and it's important to us as a ministry to be able to reach out to these people. And I would love for Dave to be able to go on, some of these shows of these thought leaders like Sean Hannity. Could you imagine the audience that we could reach and teach people about the prophecies of the Bible if Dave had a stage like that he could go to?
Pretty awesome.
It would be.
Now, with the Real ID Act, you remember it. I was still in high school then. But I remember it because I'm Irvin Baxter's grandson, and
right.
I know weird things about stuff that most people don't because of the dinner table.
Yes.
But
I bet you were kind of a cool kid growing up in school. Some of the topics that you would talk about.
I like to talk about sports in high school, but
okay.
Nonetheless, you remember that time probably better than I would, at least from that perspective. Yeah. So I'm sure there were people proclaiming this is the mark of the beast.
Absolutely, they were.
And were people like, you guys are nuts, or how were people treated that thought that?
Well, I think that it was probably a mixed reaction, kind of like, probably what we'll have off of this topic today. There were
Sure.
people who were, gung-ho that this has got to be it. And then there were those that were saying, just cool your heels and understand that this is not it, and there's reasons why. Back in those days when Brother Baxter started that first campaign, I remember giving to the fund and, paying for someone to have a magazine. And, the thing is that when he first started talking about that, it was a scary thing. And I think that I was looking at it from a different perspective then than what I knew until he started teaching me through the program. So being able to have this opportunity and to have a platform where we can send this information out, it may change some minds of some Congress people who have no idea that it could, be something that they need to look at from a prophetical standpoint and to understand, what this could be.
Yeah, and we part of why we do this is because we believe that we're following the guidance of the Spirit.
Absolutely.
So we're doing this, and it may not be a Sean Hannity that reads that magazine,
Right.
but if it's Sean Hannity's whoever is on his team that may
Right.
get that, and then as they're sitting in a planning meeting and bring it up,
Yeah.
that's all that we need. And we don't even really need that because God can do whatever he wants. But nonetheless,
Absolutely.
to get in front of these people, you never know what route
Right.
is going to be taken. And so basically what this is you sponsor for your state or any state you want to pick, your lawmakers, or we have a long list of thought leaders like Dennis Prager, Candace Owens, Christopher Ruddy from Newsmax, and the list is very long. But you sponsor that, and it just takes $40 to sponsor one of these people getting it for 2 whole years. So they're going to get Endtime magazine for 2 years for just $40. Now, I got to tell you, Washington, D.C. is already taken care of. Montana is already taken care of. And I got to say, I've got some friends out in Washington, and you are way behind everybody else. So if you're in the state of Washington, now is the time to give us a call, 1-800-ENDTIME, 1-800-363-8463, or go to endtime.com/USA. It only takes $400 to cover Washington. So Washington, where are you at? Doug?
I'm just concerned about Texas. Look at Texas. Come on, folks.
Texas.
This is Texas.
$1,000 and $1,040 is all we lack.
Yeah, we need that, guys. We need to get that rolling here because, as you know, they're trying to change the demographics of this state, I believe, in the way that we vote. And so we need to wake some people up in the Senate and let them know, hey, this is going on and you need to understand this. So come on, Texas, step up.
My home state and Endtime's home state, Indiana, $400 is all we need to cover the state of Indiana. So there's a lot of states that still aren't covered. Like I said, Montana and D.C. are the only 2 that are covered presently. And then there's the rest of the states and several other territories. And then, President Biden, he doesn't have a subscription yet.
We got to get him one.
So
for
he
sure.
needs one, whether he reads it or not, he needs one.
Absolutely.
So go to endtime.com/USA to contribute to the Reclaim America campaign. $40 will make a big difference. Or you can give us a call at 1-800-363-8463 to donate today. We will be taking your calls after the break. We're going to be talking about, is the COVID vaccine the mark of the beast? So you'll want to stay tuned for that. We look forward to talking about that with you after the break. Major internet companies are silencing and censoring Christian voices online. These companies are trying to control what you see and hear. Almost 200 videos of ours have been marked as restricted online right now. That's why we launched End of the Age Plus, a platform where the truth won't be censored, a platform where we can preach the message of the gospel. When you subscribe to End of the Age Plus today for just $12.99 a month, you can watch all of our content in a secure, easy-to-view way from your favorite device. When you go to watch.endtime.com and subscribe, you'll get instant access to all of our teaching resources, including Revelation, the Unveiling of Jesus Christ, Understanding the End Time, End Time Magazine, and so much more. We will not censor our message to comply with what the world deems as politically correct. Go to watch.endtime.com right now or search End of the Age Plus in the App Store or Google Play.
We've seen Bible prophecy fulfilled like never before. From the halls of the United Nations to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Endtime Ministries continues to reveal the Bible prophecy in the news headlines around the world every day. Whether it's through our broadcast or online at our Jerusalem Prophecy College, your gifts enable us to put vital materials in the hands of those who need it most. Because of you, we continue to replace fear with faith in the hearts of Christians around the world. We will continue to see prophecy come to pass at an even swifter pace. We need your support. Your donation of any amount enables us to continue to broadcast and be a voice in the ever-growing censored media. To become a partner or give a one-time gift, visit endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME right now. That's 800-363-8463. Go online now. Visit endtime.com.
Welcome back to End of the Age. I'm Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We are taking your calls today, 1-877-END-TIME. That's 1-877-363-8463. I will tell you that we will only take your calls about the COVID vaccine being the mark of the beast or anything around the mark of the beast. So that's our subject today. Open line is on Fridays, so we do appreciate you calling. However, today we're going to try to stay on topic here. So if you call about something else, probably not going to be able to get to you because we want to stay around this subject. All right, Doug, COVID vaccine, very controversial.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about it because we think we need to talk about things that are controversial sometimes.
Yeah, well, we need to...
What's the Bible say? What does God think?
Right. We got to educate folks. They need to understand some things. And we've gotten a lot of questions.
Yes.
We've had a lot of, I don't want to call it conspiracy theory, but I mean, I don't know another word that's better than that about the vaccine and what that could be. So we have these things that, are going around the internet about the vaccine itself. But I wanted to tell everybody today, if you go to the CDC website, and it's www.cdc.gov, has a lot of information about the vaccines and the ingredients. It breaks it down, each one of them. You can go look at that. You can look at the side effects from it, all those things, and you can educate yourself. And that's what I encourage people to do. Educate. Anytime that you're going to have something injected in your body, you should educate yourself on it anyway, I believe. But also, we're talking about this vaccine, and it's like a passport, or in some places, a green card, to allow people to move around freely. So remember, one of the things I wanted to, really get people to think about today is that this is a virus that has a high survival rate. And I know that some people are iffy on the numbers, but WebMD, for instance, says that there is a 97% to 99.75% of survival rate of COVID.
Okay.
And, so we know personally the effects that COVID can have. We lost Brother Baxter to implications because of this virus. He had some other things going on, but this didn't
help him at all, that's for sure.
Not at all. And so we understand it's a very real thing. But just talking about today, what we're talking about, what we're focusing on is the vaccine passport, not necessarily the COVID-19 virus, right? We're talking about this vaccine passport.
So first of all, we are not saying that the COVID virus is the mark of the beast. There's people already accusing us of that. It's
No, we're not.
Are you not reading? Are you not listening? We are not saying the COVID vaccine is the mark of the beast. We are not saying that COVID is the mark of the beast. We are simply asking the question because we get it so often.
Yeah.
Is the COVID-19 vaccine the mark of the beast? And we're going to go into detail about that. But straight up, just for all the people already accusing us of saying things we're not saying, that is what we are not saying. It's not the mark of the beast.
Right.
And we'll get into why. Sorry if I busted any bubble that you had planned there, Doug.
No bubble's busted.
I guess it's important also to note, you bring up the percentages because of what we're going to talk about.
Right.
You're not bringing that up to say that we should not take this seriously or listen to science or be concerned about people being sick. You're not saying, well, it's a 99% survival rate, so, and just don't worry about it. That's not what you're saying.
Right.
You are bringing that up because of some of the things that we're going to be talking about as far as, like we talked about border control the other day.
Yeah.
Well, we highlighted there, our subject it might have a border control jacket on it,
Right.
but that's not what we're really talking about. And the same is true here.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to those details here in a moment.
Yeah, so I think the best thing to do is we have a couple of clips that we want to show people from other places in the world. And so the first clip that we were going to look at today is Tony Blair, and he's on, I believe, a program called Good Morning Britain or Good Morning Europe. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, this is a clip from that program. It's equivalent to our Good Morning America. So listen to what Tony Blair has to say about this vaccine passport.
I think you will get to the stage where it's going to be very hard for people to do a lot of normal life unless they can prove their vaccination status.
Yeah.
I think you'll find a situation where countries say to you, you're not coming in here unless we see whether you've either been vaccinated, you've had the disease and have got antibodies, or you've had a recent high-quality test. And so if people have got to understand vaccination is going to be, in the end, your route to liberty.
Okay. There's some verbiage there he used. Did you pick up on some of that?
You know, I did. Well, Tony Blair's interesting anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've talked about him in detail in the past.
Yes, we have.
Some people
he
would
might be one of the people in the file cabinet that we talk about.
yeah, right. People have thought he might be the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And so we have looked at that and talked about it historically, and here he is now telling us, okay, we better clarify this before people go tweeting what we're saying, and
Right.
it's inaccurate. We're not saying he's the Antichrist, okay? We're not saying that. But what he did say is interesting, how it's going to be our ticket to liberty.
Yeah. And so I thought it'd be fun to look up and define liberty.
Okay.
So this is what the definition
Take your liberty.
Thank you. So this is what the definition of liberty is. The state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views.
Okay.
So Tony Blair just told everybody that they were going to find that this vaccine passport will be their way to liberty. That will be a way that they have liberty within their nation. It kind of goes against what the very definition of liberty is there, doesn't it?
Okay.
And so those things I can see, because these are clips that people have sent me. Someone sent me that clip and said, listen, how can this not be the mark of the beast? You know, it's talking about, you know, you have to have this in order to travel. You have to have this in order to come into this country. And they're telling you that your liberties can be taken away from you. So having said that, I want us to just kind of gather this information before we begin to break this down biblically, right?
Well, and so, Doug, this is a clip, Good Morning Britain.
Yeah.
I'm an American. What in the world does that have to do with me?
Right. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well,
but
I'm asking
normally things that happen across the pond will begin to happen here.
Yeah, that's...
So we keep our eyes on those things, because as we hear the world talk about the restrictions that they're putting on people, we see that, you know, we could follow suit.
So we're highlighting this because it is happening in the world.
That's right.
And it could certainly happen here.
Yeah.
And we are not proclaiming that, I guess what we are proclaiming is that the more government control, the worse it gets.
That's right.
And the more that it could start looking like world government, mark of the beast, even though that's not what this is as far as we know today. And as far as all the information that we have now, I will say that because of this very real possibility, that's what makes this Reclaim America timing. It just happens to be every 2 years. Here we are again. It's time for this. So you need to be part of this campaign. So people are asking about how much it costs for Washington State. It's $400 for the whole state of Washington. Got another question about South Carolina. Let me find that. It's $360 to cover South Carolina. So most of these are just a few $100s to cover the whole state for 2 whole years. So you will want to call in. You can target your specific state or any state that you want, or just say, I want to get President Biden or Vice President Kamala Harris, or whatever the Supreme Court justices. They're all on the list. So if you want to contribute to that, please do that by calling 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com/USA.
Now, you used the interesting word a while ago when you were talking about this, government control.
Yeah, that is an interesting.
Control. That's what Dave says it's all about. World government is about control. So that's what we're seeing begin to happen. That's why it's important that we talk about these things.
Well, Doug, before we go on, you want to take a call? We've got a few callers here wanting to know about stuff.
Sure, let's
see what happens.
Right.
Walter from Texas, welcome to End of the Age. How you doing, Walter?
Hey, good afternoon, Doug and Vince. It's great to see you guys on the TV.
Great to see you.
Hey, Walter. It's good to hear from you, sir.
I guess I can't see you. Great to hear from you, yeah.
All right, my question has to do with the vaccine. I of course think they're laying the groundwork from the mark based on Scripture, but I see so many Christian brethren and sisters frightened to death, and so they're taking this thing, and I'm not really sure if it is a vaccine at all, from the classical definition of a vaccine. Can you guys answer that question? Something about FDA emergency approval versus an FDA-approved vaccine. Isn't this just a big experimental DNA or RNA kind of thing and not a vaccine?
Well,
that's my question.
Thanks, Walter. We appreciate you putting us on the spot about such a topic like that.
Right.
The only thing we can say is, the only thing that we'll comment on is how it revolves around the mark of the beast. So we're going to recommend that you get advice from people way smarter than us on those type of questions, and we're going to stay clear on how it relates to Bible. We're going to stay connected to how it relates to Bible prophecy, and so we are not going to get off into that because there are a wide variety of opinions about that. And what we believe we're called to do is explain current events through the lens of Bible prophecy. This is a very current event. It is being pushed around the world, and we are going to communicate how that connects to Bible prophecy and not go into all those other details.
Yeah. But that is one of the great things about the CDC website. It does give you some information about that. And you can gather that information and come up to your own conclusions on it, because there's enough information there, I think, that if you're looking, you're going to find exactly what you're looking for. And Walter, if you just check that out, at the CDC website, you'll get the answer to your question, I'm sure.
And Walter's in the weekly Friday Bible study. He's been doing that for several months. Came through here and got baptized a few months ago. So Walter's a friend of Endtime, friend of ours personally. So we appreciate Walter's call. Now, Doug, do you want to move on, or you want to take more calls? What do you want to do?
Let's
kind of a hot subject. So there's plenty of people that want to talk to us.
Well, let's talk to somebody else real quick before we move on.
All right, David, we're going to Indiana. Now, I will tell you, David, there's 10 slots on the Reclaim America campaign for Indiana. So hope you represent Indiana well. Welcome to End of the Age.
Amen. Well, good to hear from you brothers up there. You're doing a mighty fine job.
Thank you.
I just wanted to touch on a little bit of what you're talking about, liberty. As far as James 1:25, it says, "Whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continue therein, he not being a forgetful hearer, but a doer of his work, this man shall be blessed indeed." That's what true liberty means to me.
Okay.
But as far as touching on the subject of the vaccination, I don't believe that's no mark of no beast at all. I speak by, it's just a spiritual understanding. I believe the people that are going to take the mark are going to be willingly knowing they're taking it. I'll leave it at that, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, David, and we believe the same, and we're going to get into those details here in a bit. We're going to actually, probably after the next break, we're going to start showing you what Irvin Baxter had to say about that too. So we're with you on that, and we do appreciate your call. David, Doug, you want to go to the clip from Israel real quick?
Let's look at our next clip.
All right, the next one's about the green passport from Israel.
It's called the green passport. We're not told to wear it, but what they have done is they have essentially overnight created a second-class citizenry, a true medical apartheid that is disallowing healthy, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens from entering their places of culture if they do not participate in this experiment. It's that simple.
Okay, Vince, one of the interesting things she talked about there is being a second-class citizen. If you're not taking this vaccine and you don't have your passport, you're considered a second-class citizen. That clip goes on to say that they were excluded from many different things. I mean, they were talking about choirs and piano classes. I mean, just everyday things that you would do, you're being excluded now. You're not allowed to participate because you're not playing ball with the government. You're not doing what they're recommending you do with this vaccine. And so we like to think that's not going to happen here in the United States. We like to think, oh, that's never going to happen.
That's where I was getting at. Like, okay, I'm in America. What about that?
Right.
So now I have talked to friends in Israel, people that we're connected with through Jerusalem Prophecy College,
right,
and they told me I've got to, the day that the stay-at-home order or whatever they're calling it took place. They said if I'm not home by 9 p.m., I'll get arrested without my
vaccination
passport.
card.
Yeah, and so and at that point they weren't even giving. They were just starting to give them out. So he had no way of getting them. But he said within 2 weeks I'll be able to get my green passport, and I'll be able to go into the grocery store. I'll be able to get on a plane. I'm sitting there going, wait, you are like. You sound like you're reading from the transcript of our Mark of the Beast lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's pretty crazy how the similarities are there, and I can see how people get worked up about it in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely there. We also have, speaking about it not coming to the United States, we've got an article, actually. Would you like to share that article from the New York Times that came out on March 26th?
Sure, I'll read it quickly. The nation's very first vaccine passport is coming to the Big Apple in New York City. The program dubbed the... help me with that word, Doug. You told me what it was earlier. I've forgotten
It
now.
is the Excelsior.
Excelsior, yes. Dubbed the Excelsior Pass is an app that will allow New Yorkers to prove their vaccination status or recent history of a negative COVID-19 test in order to gain entry to events and businesses, Governor Cuomo announced in a news release Friday. Similar to a mobile airline boarding pass, individuals will be able to either print out their pass or store it on their smartphone using the Excelsior, I forgot it again. Pass wallet app. Each pass will have a secure QR code which participating businesses and venues can scan using a companion app to verify proof of COVID-19 negative test results or proof of vaccination. Very interesting read that we will expound on after the break. Give us a call to chat with us about whether the whether the COVID-19 vaccine is the mark of the beast. The number to call is 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter. This book by Irvin's grandson provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your relationship with God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at Endtime will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Get your book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
Major internet companies are silencing and censoring Christian voices online. These companies are trying to control what you see and hear. Almost 200 videos of ours have been marked as restricted online right now. That's why we launched End of the Age Plus, a platform where the truth won't be censored, a platform where we can preach the message of the gospel. When you subscribe to End of the Age Plus today for just $12.99 a month, you can watch all of our content in a secure, easy-to-view way from your favorite device. When you go to watch.endtime.com and subscribe, you'll get instant access to all of our teaching resources, including Revelation, the Unveiling of Jesus Christ, Understanding the End Time, End Time Magazine, and so much more. We will not censor our message to comply with what the world deems as politically correct. Go to watch.endtime.com right now or search End of the Age Plus in the App Store or Google Play.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
Welcome back to End of the Age. We are taking your calls at 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463. The question posed today is the COVID-19 vaccine the mark of the beast? I will tell you straight up, there are people still commenting on our Facebook feed about why in the world we would suggest it's the mark of the beast. Please reread it. Please re-listen to what I'm saying. We are not saying that the COVID-19 vaccine is the mark of the beast. We're asking whether it is or not because many of you have asked us that very question. So we wanted to pose it. We wanted to explain a little bit about what the COVID-19 vaccine is and how it's being implemented here in America and throughout the world, and then explain what the scriptures say about the mark of the beast. So we are not suggesting it's the mark of the beast. You can calm down now. Everything's going to be okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
Are we on the same page with that, Doug?
Yes, we are
Okay.
on the same page with that.
Now, I will say that I'll mention again the Reclaim America campaign, endtime.com/USA if you want to contribute. We think it's critical that the lawmakers and thought leaders in America receive Endtime magazine so that things like Real ID Act, which was started in the early 2000s, that launched the Reclaim America campaign to begin with, but then also a green passport where they're going to require you to do things like that, like what we've discussed previously in the show. We think that our lawmakers and thought leaders need to know about what the Bible prophecies have to say about this type of behavior in our government. And so that is why being part of the Reclaim America campaign is so critical. To donate to that, most of the states only need a couple $100 to be covered for all the lawmakers. So, $200 is going to cover most of the states, actually. Some are, $800 for Illinois, $400 for Indiana. So whatever state you're in, you can call and target that, or any other state. Like I said before, President Biden and his whole team need to get a copy, and the Supreme Court justices need to get a copy, and many, many other folks. So call us or visit endtime.com/USA to contribute to that today.
After the last article you read, New York needs to
You know what? That's
get
a
a copy.
great point. New York.
They're already implementing this on the phones.
$1,200 for New York.
There you go. I mean, we could take care of that today, guys.
Absolutely.
But
now, are you getting a bonus from this?
No, I'm not.
No, we're not getting paid. In fact, we aren't making any money off of this. We don't make any money off the magazine. It goes out. It's very expensive to do, but $40 for 2 years covers the expenses for it. So.
Yeah. But it's very important, because of things like this. Now, we see that they've implemented it in New York and they're using it in New York. You're not going to be able to go into a lot of the businesses unless you have this on your phone. Now, think about it. When you go and travel to New York, people go to New York all the time. We go to New York when we're traveling to Israel. That's our first stop. We fly to New York, we stop. I've gone to to Broadway and all that down there and looked at Times Square and all that great stuff down there when I've been there. But now, without the vaccine, you won't be able to go in some of the places that you went in. Some of those great pizza places in New York City, or
I bet there'll be some underground pizza places.
There probably will be. But so think about that, and then think about how we are beginning to be segregated, and that kind of will be a segue into our next little clip we want to show there.
Well, it's a photo. So
Yeah.
what would happen if this came to church? If this came to your church, we got two photos of a sanctuary of a church to look at. One side says not yet vaccinated. That's where you sit if you haven't been vaccinated yet. And then the other one says fully vaccinated. What would you do? Well, I better not ask that, Doug, because we're talking about how it relates to Mark of the Beast and control and all that stuff. But this is happening at least in this church, and I've heard of other churches as well. Yeah. Interesting.
We were kind of talking about it before the show, and it kind of puts me in the mind of the people who were lepers in the day of Jesus, you know, where they would have to walk around and say, unclean, unclean, and people would move away from them. It's almost to that state. It's a little scary to think about being segregated in church like that. But, there's a lot of fear in people. I mean, I am sensitive to that as well. I mean, we're real sensitive about this virus because Pastor Baxter had it and Pastor Robbins had it, so both of them have gone through this, as well as other people that work here at Endtime. Yep. My wife and I both had it back in July. And so we know it's very real. We understand that there are people that are afraid. And if you are a certain age group, there's even more reason to be afraid. But anyway, it's not what we're talking about today. Moving into the Mark of the Beast part.
If only we could hear what Irvin had to say.
Well, you know what? We can.
We can.
Yes, we can.
We've pulled some clips.
Yes.
So let's go to the first clip from Irvin about the Mark of the Beast.
The Bible prophesies a time when every person will be required by the Antichrist and his world government to have a number. Without this number, you will not be able to buy anything or sell anything. But in order to get your number, you will be forced to worship or pledge allegiance to the Antichrist and his world government system.
Okay, so even though some of this that we've heard about today might seem similar, we just heard from Brother Baxter, that's not the case. It's not going to be what it is. So it may be a precursor to that, but he just told us that the mark is a number, and without it, we can't buy,
now,
sell,
but on
or
the
trade.
passport, what if they put a number on there?
Well, absolutely, but there's other things that's going to go along with it. So we're going to see that it's not just that. He said you would also have to worship or pledge an allegiance to.
Okay, that's a big thing.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because you will, to me, that's saying I've got a choice to do this or not, right? And so in order to have the mark of the beast, not only will it be something that you buy, sell, or trade with, so we know it's going to be an economic system, right? And Brother Baxter will go into that in a second too and talk about that. But that worship thing is a whole big part of that. So it's very interesting.
It is, and it's a little weird to watch him teach. 'Cause he's passed on now.
Yeah.
It's been months, and to hear his voice, to see him sitting there teaching, it's about right here, is interesting, and I really enjoy it. I think it's awesome to use these clips of him teaching because it's still so relevant today, and it will be for many, many years to come, for the rest of our lifetime.
Absolutely.
And if you want more videos like that of him teaching, we do have the Jerusalem Prophecy College that's available. He would tell you right now that you need to be in the Jerusalem Prophecy College to prepare for the days ahead. So go to endtime.com/JPC to enroll in the Jerusalem Prophecy College. And actually, tomorrow's the last day to get that special deal we told you about a few weeks ago. Use coupon code DOUG, D-O-U-G, and you'll get $10 off of your next course. So be sure to do that
Probably the
before
only
tomorrow.
time I'll be able to save anybody money.
Right?
I feel like a gecko or something.
You want to go to a call or you want to go to another clip?
Let's go to a call.
All right, Lewis in Florida. Welcome to End of the Age. How you doing, Lewis?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Glad to hear you guys. I always like your teachings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lewis.
What's your question?
I have a little comment. We have family to live in Israel. And, and half of them believe in the vaccine, and the other half don't want to know about it. And we kind of all fighting to each other because now they have the green card there, kind of like a passport. But they also said that if you went through the COVID virus, you were sick and you can prove it, they also will give you this card. And my comment is that they're using this just as some kind of like a rehearsal to prepare people when the mark of the beast will be in place. So that is how it's going to be. People are going to be treating different. Right. Whoever has the mark is going to be special than the ones that are not going to receive it.
Absolutely. Thank you for your call, Lewis. We're right on the same page there. As we're saying, this is not the mark of the beast. We're trying to make that as clear as possible because there's people watching and listening that are going, why are you saying this is the mark of the beast? We are saying it's not, but it is a precursor, so we appreciate you pointing that out. And we believe similar. This is how it would be for the mark of the beast when it happens. So thanks for pointing that out, Lewis. We appreciate
One of the great things that Lewis can kind of take a little bit of comfort from there too is we know Israel won't be part of the mark of the beast. They're going to be standing against the Antichrist and the world government all the way up until the Battle of Armageddon.
When he also mentioned, unrelated to what you said, sorry, he also mentioned that some of his family had and some of his family hadn't. And so I think it's important here to point out that you are going to be connected to people with varying opinions on this. Absolutely. If you haven't noticed, maybe you should crawl out from under a rock, but there are people with varying opinions on this and very passionate opinions at that.
Absolutely.
And so, you know what we're called to do? Love people.
Right.
Wherever they fall, we need to love people.
Absolutely.
And, you're going to have family members, people that you go to church with. I personally have friends that are very, very strongly opinionated on both sides. Yeah. And so I'm connected doing this juggling act all the time. And I'm sitting here going, I just want to do life with you regardless of those choices.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, you know, we heard that if everybody takes the vaccine that you'll be able to have barbecues by, you know, the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Well, I'm planning on having barbecue and I'm planning on inviting my family. And I've got some family that, you know, are very passionate in the opposite view that I have. Well, we still can get along with each other and we can still come together. And anybody that feels like they need to wear a mask are more than welcome to wear a mask.
Wear 2 masks.
Right.
You're welcome to my house with 2 masks on.
Come eat a burger and let's fellowship and love each other. So, yeah.
And, you know, just thinking that with the varying opinions, it's going to be, you're going to have passionate discussions about it, and you got to keep your cool and kind of navigate that properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen to that. All right. You want to go to clip 2?
Sure. Let's go to clip 2 on from Irvin.
The prophecy is Revelation chapter number 13. The first 8 verses of this chapter are devoted to the one world government and the ruler of that one world government, the Antichrist. Verses 11 through 15 are devoted to the global religious system and the leader of that global religious system, a personage the Bible calls the false prophet. Then finally, verses 15 through 18, where we're going to focus our remarks today, talk about a global economic system that will be used to force compliance and obedience to the one world government and the one world religious system.
That chapter 13, which we believe is kind of Satan's chapter because it lays out his plan there.
Okay.
And if you want to read Revelation 13, 15 through 18 there, so we cover that part about the mark of the beast.
All right, I may need some help with some words, so be ready. Starting at, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
So we see from this scripture that there are certain things that are going to happen before we even know this is implemented. So I guess when we come back from the break, we can kind of talk about that a little bit. What has to happen before the mark can even be implemented, and are we even close right now?
All right, well, give us a call. We want to talk to you about whether the COVID-19 vaccine is the mark of the beast or not. The number to call is 1-877-Endtime, 1-877-363-8463.
Most of us walk around day by day blind to the prophecies being fulfilled right before us. Every news report brings a new piece to the puzzle in the race towards the final 7 years and the second coming of Jesus Christ. Now, more than ever, it is important for God's people to understand the times in which we are living. On November the 12th, 2013, we opened our Jerusalem Prophecy College in downtown Jerusalem. These same courses are now available online for people who are unable to attend the classes in person. We welcome students to join us and discover the link between current events and the prophecies of the Bible. Take your place in the prophecy of Daniel 11:33. Enroll in the Jerusalem Prophecy College today. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com.
Welcome back to End of the Age. We've got very little time left, so we're going to rush through. Well, we're not going to rush you on the calls, but we're going to get through the calls and hopefully have some time for some more comments after that. Joe, we're going to go straight to you in New York. Joe, welcome to End of the Age. What's your comment or question?
Hey, you guys look terrific. God bless you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Joe. Good to hear from you.
How's everything going with your personal lives?
Well, man, we don't have enough time to talk about all that. I got 2 kids under 3, so I could go all day.
Oh, my God, you have to have supernatural energy.
Well,
Listen,
I pulled all my hair out
vaccines.
thinking about it.
you want to zero in on, I got 5 kids and I don't know how many grandchildren at this point, but I had both vaccines. I had 1 and 2, and I'm fine, except I grew another head.
Oh no! Which one's talking to us?
The main one.
Okay.
No, I'm making light of it because people are taking this way out of proportion, number one. And people who know their God shall not have fear. Now, you guys are always talking about the truth of knowing the Lord. You must be born again, baptized into Holy Spirit, so we will know the truth, and the truth shall set us free. I have no fear.
Right.
Period.
Amen.
Now, if anyone, and my heart goes out to people who don't want to know the prophecy, because they can be tricked, you see. But if we're born of the Spirit, we should know the prophecy, we should know God's book, and then there's no fear. Listen, man, I'll take 100 vaccines if I could stop wearing this I get angry.
Joe, I better stop you there. Do you have a question about the vaccine before that other head takes over your comment?
My question is, why do you think people now, you're supposed to be talking about people that know the Lord, why are they being afraid of the vaccine?
All right. Well, we'll thank you for your call, Joe. We'll answer that, and we'll move on. We got a lot of other people we want to talk to. I would suggest that, first of all, we do preach hope here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are not trying to inject people with fear, and we also aren't dealing with people entirely that are born-again believers. So we are talking to a wide variety of people. Not all of them have this same faith that we do. Not all of them have this same hope presently, but we're trying to help everybody get there. Plus, there are people that do have this same faith and same hope, and they get weary sometimes. And so we're trying to help strengthen them and encourage them that they don't have to be fearful. So we appreciate your call, Joe. Look forward to talking to you every time you call. All right, Joel in Oklahoma, welcome to End of the Age. What's your question?
Y'all are Doug, you and Vince are looking good too.
Oh man, that's 2 in a row.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel.
God bless Brother Baxter's memory, because the question, well, I really didn't have a question.
You're sneaking one in on us.
Well, I had a comment about, they said about COVID-19. You can survive it, because I've had it twice.
Yeah.
I had it a year ago in January and this January.
Wow.
So, and my doctor in Wichita Falls, you know, a lot of people don't know. He's a wonderful man. He's a born-again believer. And he told me, he said, you know, there's so many strains. He said, you've had 2 different strains, so I know that, you know. And they're both survivable. One of them was a little worse than the other, but, you know, the guy, Joe in New York, he summed it up. There's got to be some things happen. Oh, my granddaughters are screaming.
I hear that. Sounds like my house.
Yeah. The thing of it is, there's got to be a lot of things. Well, some things happen. And the very first thing that's got to happen is that peace treaty's got to come first.
Right. Absolutely.
That's, I mean, before it all happens.
Right.
You know, and that's got to happen, and then the AC, old Antichrist, he's got to be revealed before we take the mark, you know. So,
well, Joe, you're teaching my Bible study here, Joel.
Well, you guys, you're showing Brother Irvin's videos, and you got into mine too.
Right.
See? So,
well, praise
I'm
the
gonna
Lord.
wreck you a little bit, but
Thank you, Joel, for your call. We appreciate it. We are going to talk a little bit about that after we get through a few more calls. So we do appreciate you calling and commenting. Tracy from Texas, welcome to End of the Age.
Thank you. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Hi, Tracy.
Okay, hi. I was just wanting to call in, and it's kind of a comment and kind of a question. I know that, you know, our DNA, you know, can be decoded, and we can actually find the name Yahweh in our DNA, and because we're made in the image of God. And we know that the vaccine is an mRNA. Some believe it can change the DNA. And I'm wondering if, you know, I don't believe that it is the mark of the beast, but like you say, it's a precursor to it. is it possible that, because there's been a lot of chatter among, around our dinner table, that Satan he hates the fact that we're made in the image of God, and that he wants to alter our DNA so that one day we are genetically modified into his image. And I believe that that's what the mark of the beast will actually do. But I would like your thoughts on, with this vaccine being able to, be a messenger to the RNA. Is there a risk there? And why do people always want to push the envelope so close to the edge rather than err on the side of caution? So hopefully my question is clear.
Well, I think, there's always going to be a risk with anything that you do like that. I mean, I think with any vaccine, there's a risk. The CDC talks about the risk on there. It tells you the ingredients of each one of those vaccines, and it tells you there's a risk with it. Just like every commercial you see on TV for every medication, there's a long list of, complications.
A lot of times I'm like, I think I'll just keep my cough.
Right. But, the great thing about the Lord is the Lord has given us antibodies, and he's given us a defense system in our bodies that can fight these things off. And, that goes along with faith too. We have faith that God can heal us and things like that. Like Vince said earlier, we're not in any kind of qualified seat here as a physician or to give medical advice about it whatsoever. I've heard some of the things like what you're talking about. I've heard some of those implications from doctors. I know there's a particular doctor that I listened to this morning that gave some great information. And that's why I encourage everybody just to get as much information about it as you can.
The information we're providing is prophetic.
Right. The information we're providing is this is not the mark of the beast. And that's what we want to reiterate there. So.
Sure.
But thank you for calling today, Tracy.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We are going to go to Dion in California. Dion, welcome to Into the Age. I didn't know you guys were allowed to make calls out of the state, but we're glad that you did.
Well, I'm an over-the-road truck driver.
Okay.
And I try to listen to you guys whenever I have an opportunity. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great. How you doing?
I'm awesome. I appreciate you all doing what you're doing. So I had a comment, kind of a question, and share some information. I encourage everybody to do their research, listen to different doctors. Regardless of their political views, you can kind of discern. You can tell the ones who actually care about humanity versus the ones who are more concerned about what's politically correct or not. And I had listened to a radio program. Believe it or not, it was kind of a liberal, progressive radio program where a doctor was on there saying that nobody should be taking this vaccine. It's inhumane, and it will ruin your natural ability to build antibodies. And it was very interesting to me. I was like, oh, wow, here's this liberal program with these two doctors, and they study virology, they study the human body, they well-known person, and the other doctor was giving a hard time. Like, I can't believe you're saying this. You're going to get, somebody might give you a hard time for saying something like that.
Oh, they will. They give us a hard time just because you mention it.
Yeah, right?
What's your question today, Dion?
Well, so part of my thinking there is encouraging people to remember two things, and I'll share with you, and you guys can expand on this. The battle is, we got the flesh and the spirit. According to the Bible, spirit wins, and Lucifer is all about the flesh and misguiding us and getting us to separate ourselves from the beautiful gift of life. So I would caution people to make choices based on spirit instead of flesh, because the spirit outlives the flesh. The flesh is temporary.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your call, Dion. We're going to move on. We got some other things to talk about. We appreciate you commenting and reminding us to follow after the Spirit. We agree entirely. We need to be seeking the Spirit as we make decisions every day in our lives. So thank you, Dion. We appreciate you calling. Doug, we only have less than 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I know there's some things that we want to get to before the end of the day. And so let's try to do that.
So Joel hit on some of the scriptures we are going to discuss. So Daniel 9:27 is one of the major ones, because that tells us that there will be a final 7-year period, that there will be a peace agreement there in Israel between the Israelis and the Palestinians. They'll be able to build their temple. And it tells us that the Antichrist, in the middle of that final 7 years, he will stop the animal sacrifices and he'll set up the abomination of desolation. So in Matthew 24, Jesus tells us in verses 15 through 21 that when you see that event, the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, that triggers that great tribulation. Well, we know that the mark of the beast will be implemented during the great tribulation. So we're at least 7 years out from that, or
7 to 10.
Yeah, 7 to 10. But no, we're at least 3.5 years, I should say, until we get to that midway point. So if we were to get a peace treaty signed pretty soon, and we know that, we would have a final 7 years, and we would know halfway into that was going to start this great tribulation. 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 4 also lets us know that that's when the man of sin will be revealed at that abomination of desolation. So the Antichrist isn't revealed. So, we get calls all the time about, because we see that the mark is the number of a man's name, and that if you can calculate it, that a wise person can figure that out. Well, we get wise people all the time that tell us, hey, this has got to be the guy. So we've got people, that are working on that all the time. But the one main thing that I want to drive home in these last few minutes that we have is, what do we do about this? So we know the Antichrist isn't here yet. The false prophet hasn't been revealed either. And so the mark of the beast cannot be here. So that should give us clear scripture there to know that. But there's also a scripture in Revelation chapter 13 that gives us a little bit more information about what we should do. And so Revelation 13:8 says, "And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world." So if your name is in the Lamb's book of life, then you're not going to have to worry about this, because you won't take the mark of the beast. And so we need to really tell people, how do we get our name in the Lamb's book of life, Vince?
Absolutely. And we've done a whole webpage about it. We have a brochure about it. And we don't have enough time to get into all the details now, but I'd encourage you to go to endtime.com/reborn. Your life needs transformed entirely, just like mine does. I need it regularly, actually, but my life has been transformed, and I'm renewing that every day. But go to endtime.com/reborn, or give us a call at 1-800-ENDTIME and ask for the "What do you mean born again?" pamphlet, and we will send it to you for totally free. I do want to remind you before we go, the Reclaim America campaign is something you want to be involved with. You want your state representatives to know the prophecies of the Bible. So for only a couple $100, you can cover your whole state. But go to endtime.com/USA, and you'll be able to donate there to help your lawmakers get Endtime magazine. Or you can give us a call at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. It's been another great show. Look forward to talking to you again. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of Endtime Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with Endtime Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.